Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tutor.com webinar today. Before we get started, there are just a couple things I'd like to go over. This is the first webinar in a series about college readiness for high school students and their parents. There are 5 total in this series, which we're going to preview for you in just a second. You can also check out our socials to learn more about these different webinars and register for them, or share them out with your friends. And this presentation today will be recorded. The recording, as well as some information about the other webinars that we have coming up, will be available to you in the follow-up email that you will receive in the next couple of days. Additionally, there will be a Q&A at the end of this session. So if you have questions throughout the webinar and they come up and you think, oh, I just really wish they would answer this question, you can just drop those in the question box. I can review those and answer them. If I can answer them right then, or I'll save them to the end and then I'll throw them out to our presenters and they can answer those questions for you. So please feel free to do that. And I will say one more time, because someone always asks this is being recorded, so you can watch it again later if you want to, or share it with others. With all that said, thank you so much for joining us for our C.R.A.M for High Schoolers webinar on navigating preparation for college. I am Amy Dietzman, and I lead the training and professional development team at Tutor.com, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. But I am joined by our wonderful presenters, Jenna Gilio and Jess Rotheiser. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to them to get us started.
All right. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As Amy mentioned, this is the first of a 5-part series for college readiness and management for high school students and parents. So we are here at Navigating Prep for College. The 4 sessions that will follow over the next month or so. We're going to talk about how to decide whether you want to go to college and what college you want to go to. That's our next session. Then what does the admissions process look like is number 3. Number 4 is financial literacy. How do we pay for college and how do we manage our finances during college? And then our last session is going to take a look at life during and after college. So as Amy said, you check out our socials and the follow-up email if you would like to attend any of the upcoming sessions. So our session today, preparation for college, we're going to take a look at tools and aptitude tests that you can utilize for discovering your career interests or your college major interests. We'll look at different types of schools. So what types of higher ed institutions are there and what are the general costs associated with those? We're going to spend a lot of time talking about how to set yourself up for success. So this is things that you should do or you should start doing during 9th through 11th grade and continue doing into your senior year to put your best foot forward. And we'll wrap up by talking about all the tests that are out there, the SAT, the ACT, the SAT. Why do those tests matter? Do you have to take them? When do you have to take them? So we'll dive in first. So a good place to start when preparing for life after high school is figuring out what your future goals or career aspirations are. And there are many different tools or aptitude tests out there that can help you in this exploration. One of these is called the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. It's a mouthful, so we just call it the ASVAB. This is a test that was designed by the US military to help students learn more about career exploration and planning in the military realm, but also in the civilian realm. This test is going to measure verbal, math, and science or technical skills, as well as knowledge in 8 areas, including general science, electronics, auto and shop information, and more. The ASVAB is a test that's commonly offered at high schools, so we recommend asking your counselor if it's available at yours. And one really important thing to note here is that if it is offered at your school, participation is completely voluntary. You choose to take it or not take it. If you do choose to participate, You are not obligated to the military in any way. It's just a test that can help you kind of discover, what are your skills, what are your interests, and what might align with those things. There are also many personality-based career tests that are offered online for free. One of these is based on the Myers-Briggs personality type. So you may have heard of this one before. Gives you a 4-letter personality type, INTP or ESFJ. All the letters get all confused in my head. But these personality types, this specific test will use those personality types to give you a list of careers that may be a good match for you. So you can see, this person here, they're kind of right on the edge of all of those personality types. And so they're going to have a wide range of careers. And obviously none of these are, the perfect, they're not claiming that it's the perfect match for you, but it is an option and something that you can consider. And that's going to be the case with all of these personality-based career tests. They're a good place to get started. So this is another useful test, the Holland Code. You'll answer statements in this test on a range of strongly agree to strongly disagree. And that's going to give you a score of 0 to 100 on 6 different occupational themes. And then it will suggest careers that align. The MAP career test is another one that's available. And this career test is the most in-depth. It's usually more time sensitive. And unfortunately, is usually not always completely free, but it is really in-depth, and it will identify your motivations and match you to the best career fields. And another website that's out there, the Career Explorer. This is a lengthier test that is going to ask you about your goals, your preferences, interests, history, and personality. And so this test is going to match you both to careers as well as college majors that may be the best fit for you. So any of these 4 personality-based career tests can give you some ideas of what careers may best align with your personality. Of course, you won't be interested in every single one of the suggested careers, but it may give you an idea as to what is out there that you may not have considered before that could end up being a great fit for you. I do also want to talk about the ACT inventory. So you may have heard of the ACT test. The ACT company offers 3 inventories that can help you discover your interests, abilities, and values. And that can help you make career or college major decisions as well. These are free to take, and they're available at my.act.org under that plans icon. And the ACT inventories draw upon the Holland Code, which is one of the personality tests that we just talked about. But the ACT has created a career map and a major map that looks something like this as a more visual way to kind of view your results. It's important to remember, though, that most people don't have it all figured out when they go to college. The actual numbers are difficult to know for certain, but it is estimated that 20 to 50% of students enter college undeclared, meaning that they have not yet settled on a major. And on top of that, it's estimated that 30% of students change their major during college, with 10% of students even changing more than once. And the data is conflicting as well, but many adults work in fields that are not related to their college degree. Ask some adults that you know in your life, and a lot of them will tell you that. So while it's important to try to find a major that you're interested in that will lead you to a career that you want, at no point are you ever locked into that decision. You can always change your mind and pivot on your journey. So with that, I will pass it to Jenna.
Thanks, Jess. Identifying your interests and goals can not only help narrow down your career path, but it can also inform the type of institution you'll attend, along with any associated costs. Between the financial burden, academic barriers, and various other obstacles, a four-year college isn't for everyone. And depending on your career goals, it may not even be the most logical choice. So let's explore your options. When it comes to selecting a college, the possibilities are practically endless. We'll talk about how to navigate the college decision in our next webinar, but for today, we're simply going to examine three types of institutions: trade and technical schools, community colleges, and four-year institutions. In contrast with a four-year university, trade school programs focus on the technical knowledge required for a particular occupation, such as welding, mechanics, or even culinary arts. These programs forego a majority of the general education courses required at a four-year college and instead emphasize hands-on training and practical skills. Trade schools prepare their learners to enter into the most in-demand and reliable careers available, including essential professions, high-paying specialized careers, and fast-growing technical roles. Traditionally, trade schools offer smaller class sizes, and students can expect to complete a program in 2 years or less. As with any college, trade and technical programs come with a list of advantages and disadvantages. So first and foremost, trade programs are generally more affordable than four-year institutions, though it's important to note that the trade-off may include limited facilities or student organizations and fewer options for entertainment. As previously mentioned, these programs typically run for a maximum of 2 years, with many disciplines offering even shorter pathways. Trade schools often hold multiple start dates throughout the year, which can be advantageous for students who require a more inflexible enrollment date. Another notable advantage is fewer admissions requirements. Trade and technical schools may admit students without a high school diploma or those with lower GPAs. And in many cases, they don't require specific coursework or experience or any extracurricular prerequisites. As I mentioned before, trade schools also feature smaller class sizes, and students typically move through each class with the same group of classmates. Many students have reported that being surrounded with other like-minded people helps smooth the transition between high school and college. Arguably, the biggest advantage trade schools offer is the practical, real-world experience. Programs often feature live demonstrations, hands-on projects and assignments, and in some cases, even on-the-job training. Learners benefit from practical training while also gaining professional experience. Now, because trade school programs offer specialized coursework, it's important to note that these programs are limited in the types and number of careers available for graduates. And specialized credits may not transfer as easily to a traditional college or university, so keep that in mind if you have plans to transfer to a four-year institution. Community colleges offer ample course options, as well as flexible scheduling, including night classes and asynchronous coursework, which provides students the opportunity to attend classes while also maintaining a job or taking care of family. Like trade schools, community colleges typically feature smaller class sizes, lending to more personalized instruction and a supportive learning environment. Also worth noting is that community colleges, most times, the credits are transferable to four-year colleges or universities. And with dual enrollment programs, which we'll discuss in just a few minutes, you can even begin earning these credits in high school. Many community colleges also offer baccalaureate programs in high school or in high demand fields such as business, nursing, and computer science. These programs allow students to earn a bachelor's degree without ever attending a four-year college or university. Also similar to trade schools, Community colleges offer a wide selection of professional and specialized coursework, which may not be available at four-year institutions. But taking the community college route doesn't have to mean it's your final destination. In fact, attending community college can be a cost-effective way to dip your toes into the world of higher education before transferring to a four-year program. Because local community colleges often have transfer agreements with nearby universities, they often act as a stepping stone between high school and four-year institutions. These agreements allow students who complete specific requirements to easily transfer into a four-year program. Transfer students can then earn a bachelor's degree from a four-year institution while only having to pay 2 years of higher tuition rates. And apart from being the more budget-friendly option, completing 2 years at a community college can also help ease the transition from high school to university-level coursework. Four-year institutions often offer robust course catalogs with unique electives like tree climbing, beekeeping, or even surviving the zombie apocalypse. There truly is something for everyone. A huge draw for many students who choose to attend a four-year university versus a community college or a trade school is the traditional college experience. This comes with living in the residence halls, a variety of student organizations, and plenty of options for entertainment and socializing as they so choose. There are also opportunities, though there are also opportunities for financial aid at two-year institutions, four-year colleges are especially generous with their scholarship offerings for first-time freshmen. It is important to note that transfer students won't benefit from this type of aid. If you decide a four-year institution is right for you, you'll want to consider whether you'll attend a public or a private institution and whether you'll stay close to home or attend a school out of state. Now, as I mentioned previously, we'll discuss these considerations in more detail at our next webinar, Navigating the College Decision. But today, let's briefly compare the general costs associated with each type of institution. With student loans and other forms of financial assistance aside, the average cost of undergraduate tuition and fees per year is around $9,000 for in-state students and $19,000 for out-of-state students. For private schools, that average climbs to around $27,000 per year, and at community colleges, residents can expect to pay an average of $5,000, with out-of-state students paying around $9,000. But as we all probably know, budgeting for college goes beyond just tuition. You'll also have to account for housing expenses, transportation and traveling, books, student fees, food, and more. These expenses make up what's referred to as the total cost of attendance, or COA. The average COA of four-year US colleges in 2023 is around $28,000 for in-state students and $38,000 for out-of-state students. At community colleges, it comes out to $18,000 for residents and $22,000 for out-of-state students. And finally, the COA of private four-year schools is around $44,000. Now, these numbers might seem scary, but try not to let the price tags deter you from applying to a school that you're interested in. You never know what kind of scholarship awards or grants you might be offered to kind of help even the playing field. It's important to be aware of all of your options so you can begin catering your coursework and building up your college resume. And it's never too early to begin having these conversations with your family members and guidance counselor. But with that being said, you don't have to pick your track today. I'm going to hand it back over to Jess, and she's going to share how you can set yourself up for success so that you have all of the options available to you when it does come time to make that decision.
All right, thank you, Jenna. So While you may not be sure exactly what you want to do 4 years from now, 2 years from now, or even 5 minutes from now, it's important to keep all of the doors open. Set yourself up as best as you can for success so that you can keep all the options on the table. In high school, there are two main keys to this: grades and attendance. It starts in 9th grade. Freshmen who earn a B average or better have an 80% chance of finishing high school with at least a 3.0 GPA. It's easier to end strong when you start strong. Your high school GPA is going to be an extremely important metric on college applications, regardless of which type of higher education institution you choose to go to. In addition, freshman grades are a great predictor of four-year high school graduation. So you can see on this chart here again, a B average or higher, or even a C+ or higher is going to set you up for success. So getting through high school in 4 years and graduating on time. The second key is attendance. Freshman students who miss more than 2 weeks flunk on average at least 2 classes. And this is regardless of their 8th grade test scores, which is an indicator of how well prepared they were for high school. And like grades, freshman attendance are also a great predictor of high school graduation. So students who miss more than 9 days have less than a 50% chance of graduating in 4 years or at all. Each day missed decreases the chance of graduating high school. So grades and attendance are important, of course, but actually the courses that you take matter even a little bit more than your grades. Colleges are going to look to see how rigorous your course schedule was. The courses that you take freshman year will determine the courses that you can take the rest of high school. These are called prerequisites. So in order to take AP Calculus, you have to have taken pre-calculus. And in order to take pre-calculus, you had to have taken Algebra 2. See how the classes kind of build on each other? So you want to be sure that you're preparing for the classes that you think you may want to take later in high school. But if you decide later on, I want to take such and such a class, and you've missed the prereq, you can talk to your counselor to see if there's a way that maybe you can test into that class. Take a summer class or even a community college course. And it's important to get involved with clubs, societies, and teams, sports teams or otherwise, during your freshman year. This is going to give you a chance to really dive deep into an area that you're interested in. And joining early can actually help you achieve more and assume leadership roles within those organizations as an older student. So some things to consider early on. As you create your high school schedule throughout all 4 years, you're going to see, or you may see, some or all of these options in your school's course catalog. So many schools will have AP, IB, honors, or dual enrollment options. Some schools will have multiple, some schools may have all of these options. So let's talk through them. What are they, and what are the benefits of taking them? So we'll start with AP, Advanced Placement. These courses are the most common type of advanced course that's offered in high schools. AP courses are overseen by the College Board and they're standardized. And that means that the curriculum and the content of the class is the same at every school across the country. These classes are held during the regular school day, and most of the time they will be more heavily weighted in your GPA, meaning that a B would be worth 4.0 instead of a 3.0. These courses end with an AP exam, which is going to determine whether or not you'll earn college credit. Now, every college has different requirements, but you'll usually need a 4 or a 5 on the test to earn credit. Some institutions may even take a 3. Some institutions may only take a 5. So you'll want to do your research on those before you take the tests, keeping in mind what colleges or universities that you're interested in. International Baccalaureate is another standardized advanced course option. This is most frequently seen as an entire program in schools called the IB diploma, and that's a more academically rigorous diploma than a traditional high school diploma. But in some cases, schools may hold individual IB courses as well. Like AP courses, IB courses occur during the school day, during the school year. They'll usually be more heavily weighted in your GPA, and they'll end with an exam that can award you college credit depending on how you do. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer about AP schools versus IB schools. Many schools won't offer both types of classes. They'll usually offer one or the other. It's also important to note that the IB diploma program is a 2-year program that begins during junior year, starts at the beginning of junior year and goes through graduation. So if an IB diploma is something that you're interested in, you'll want to be sure to look into it early. And if you need to transfer schools or transfer into the program, you usually won't be able to do so once that program begins. So you'll want to make that decision during your freshman or sophomore year before that program starts. Another type of advanced course that you may see available to you is the honors course. These courses are more academically rigorous, but they are not standardized. So these classes are different at every school. They could even be different depending on what teacher you take them from at your own school. At some schools, honors classes are more heavily weighted in your GPA, but at no school will these classes earn you college credit. Oftentimes, however, honors classes are prerequisites for an AP or an IB course, meaning that it's a class that you need to complete before you can enroll in that AP or IB. And a last option that you may see are dual enrollment courses. These usually run in partnership with local educational institutions like community colleges. These, however, are not required to be held during traditional school hours. So maybe they are, maybe you can take it as a regular class during your school day, but they may also be held online or after school. They're also not required to be held at your high school. They could be held at the partner college's campus, and you'd have to travel there to take it. So it really depends school to school on what that looks like. And it also depends whether school to school, whether your high school will more heavily weight a dual enrollment class in your GPA. With dual enrollment, simply passing the class will earn you credit at that partner institution. So there's no AP exam or IP exam. There's no exam like that required. You just take, do your assignments, take your regular tests, and if you pass the class, you earn credit. The caveat with that, however, is that if you choose to go to a different college or university, this credit may not transfer. Now, that's something that's actually happened to me. I took a genetics class in high school, and it did not end up transferring to my university that I ended up going to. So something to consider, but even if you don't earn credit, these classes are a great way to kind of get into a college level course during high school. But of course, the credit is the biggest added bonus. So why should I take advanced courses? It's more work, they're going to be more difficult. While advanced courses in high school have actually been a positive predictor of college graduation. So for example, this is a chart for AP courses, just as an example. You can see that those that took and passed an AP exam, so over here in this category, they saw a 26 to 34% increased probability of graduating college compared to 12 to 19% for those that did not take an AP course or an AP exam. So it definitely prepares you well for college. Another way that you can set yourself up for success is to utilize your resources, specifically seeing your counselor. So you may have just heard all of that about all those different types of courses, and you're probably like, what does my school offer? What should I do? Your counselor is going to be the best person to talk to about all of those things and a million other things. So studies actually show that you should go see your counselor by 10th grade at the latest. One study even showed that students that saw their counselor by 10th grade were twice as likely to apply to one school and 3.5 times as likely to apply to 2 or more schools than their peers that did not go see their counselor by 10th grade. Now, your conversations with your counselor should be different from year to year. So freshman year, your conversations should focus on course planning, kind of big picture. How can you keep track of your progress and your grades? You should also aim to start exploring your interests and the higher education that would be required, and your counselor can help you with this. Again, the goal is to keep your options open here, so you should know what kind of courses you should take or what GPA would be required for various different paths. Sophomore year, you'll want to start asking a little bit more about college planning and about test taking. You may also need a recommendation from your counselor. So it's good to visit your counselor often so that they can get to know you and your educational or future goals. And 11th grade, you'll want to lean on your counselor for college application advice. You can also ask your counselor what other resources are available to you. Maybe you've built a good relationship with them, they've offered their wisdom, but maybe you want to hear from other people as well. You could ask your counselor, are there recent grads from our high school that chose to go to this college that I'm interested in? Are there college fairs that I can go to and talk to people? Or are there handbooks or guides that I can browse through or borrow? So you can ask any of these questions at any time during high school. The really important thing is that you meet your counselor early in high school and that you continue to check in with them throughout. They are a resource that's available to you. You want to make sure that you take advantage of that opportunity.
And speaking of resources, there are a multitude of programs in place which aim to help high school students prepare for college. Early college high schools are open enrollment schools which allow historically underserved students the opportunity to receive both a high school diploma and either an associate degree or at least 60 credit hours toward a baccalaureate degree at no cost to the student. Rather than bringing a high school student to a college campus to take a class, early college programs bring college into the high school space. These programs increase college readiness by offering rigorous instruction and accelerated courses while providing students with the academic and social support required to ensure their success. Early college programs typically offer students help with the college application process when it comes time to move on to a four-year university, which can be particularly helpful for first-generation college students whose families may not be familiar with the process. And because the program sets students up to graduate with a substantial number of college credits, they're able to drastically lower the cost of attending a four-year university. The AIR report also notes that students who graduate from early college programs are projected to earn nearly $34,000 more over the course of their lifetime. If you're not sure whether your district has an early college program, be sure to ask your counselor. They should be able to answer any questions you have about the program and help you decide whether it's a good fit for you. And if early college isn't available to you, don't worry. There are other high school scholarship programs you might be able to take advantage of depending on your state. For example, the state of Missouri offers students scholarship through the A+ program. To qualify for the program, you must be a U.S. citizen, attend an A+ high school for at least 2 years, maintain a 2.5 GPA and 95% attendance, and provide 50 hours of unpaid tutoring over the course of the program. A+ will then pay qualifying students tuition to any Missouri public community college at a max of $196 per credit hour. So to find out what high school scholarship programs are available where you live, simply visit collegescholarships.org, find your state, and begin researching. Remember, it's never too early to start exploring your options and setting yourself up to meet any necessary requirements. Another resource worth considering is Raise Me. Raise Me is a free program that allows students to begin earning micro scholarships as early as 9th grade for various accomplishments like earning an A in a class or being captain of their sports team. So here is how it works. Simply follow any colleges you're interested in to learn about the micro scholarships they offer. If you're not sure what college you want to attend, don't be afraid to follow a handful of them. Remember, you want to keep the door open to all of your options. Next, you can begin building your Raise Me portfolio by adding each of your course grades, any club involvement, sports, or volunteer work. If you're not currently involved at your school, this might be motivation to check out what organizations are available to you. We'll talk about the value of extracurriculars in just a moment. Now, for each achievement, you'll earn micro scholarships from the colleges you're following, which you'll collect from the college you go on to attend. It's really that easy, so check it out. You might be surprised to find how quickly you can begin earning. As Jess mentioned earlier, the key to setting yourself up for success is to start early. Begin building your college resume now so that when it comes time to apply, you'll have years of experience to draw from. Start by exploring your school's extracurricular offerings. Consider joining a club, a sports team, or even student government. But when it comes to college admissions, think quality over quantity. The goal isn't to impress admissions officers with an exhaustive list of every organization you've ever been a part of. Instead, you want to demonstrate your commitment to the organizations you're involved with and how you've grown or taken on leadership positions within those organizations over time. Adding volunteer work to your college resume demonstrates your commitment to serving others and allows you the opportunity to give back to your community. Consider sorting cans at your local food bank, walking dogs at a nearby animal shelter, tutoring younger students at an after-school program, or even shelving books at the library. Wherever you decide to volunteer, just be sure to keep a log of your hours and make sure to have them signed off by the program's leader. Maintaining a part-time or summer job can help showcase your work ethic and experience in a professional environment. You might consider tutoring, assistant coaching, or even lifeguarding at your neighborhood pool. Our advice is to keep a detailed physical or digital list of your involvement throughout high school so that you can easily refer back to it when it comes time to apply to college. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jess, and she's going to share with us some tips and insight about standardized testing.
Yes, so one of the biggest causes of stress for high school students is often standardized testing. With some school districts focusing more on standardized testing, but many colleges and universities moving away from requiring standardized testing, it can be very confusing. What are these tests? Why do they matter? And do I have to take them? So let's first take a look at the typical test timeline. So the SAT has a few different practice versions, which are often utilized by school districts. And the SAT is going through some changes. It's actually going digital starting in fall 2023. So just in a couple of months, all students taking any version of the PSAT will take the digital test. And the SAT, the main big SAT, will go digital in spring of 2024. So just under a year from now. The first test, the PSAT 8-9, is given in, you guessed it, 8th and 9th grade. The PSAT 8-9 is like a mini version of the SAT. The digital PSAT will have 2 sections, reading and writing and math. Each section will have 2 modules. The digital test is a lot shorter than the paper and pencil test. So just for reference, the paper and pencil test is about 3 hours. The PSAT digital is 2 hours, 14 minutes. So if you've taken a PSAT before, maybe you've taken a written version of it before, it's actually going to be a little bit different of an experience. The digital PSAT and SAT, they're adaptive. So meaning that how you answer questions in the first module will determine the questions that you get in the second module. So this has kind of allowed the PSAT and SAT to become a lot shorter while still measuring the same things. So with all of that, what are the benefits of taking the PSAT 8-9? Well, first off, many schools require this test, but it does have its additional benefits. Starting to take a version of the SAT as early as 8th grade can help you build confidence in the test format and in your test taking skills. It may even help you choose high school courses based on how you did, because it can tell you what topics or skills you may need to work on, and then you may have the opportunity to choose classes accordingly. Next is the PSAT 10, which is in the spring of your sophomore year. So again, you'll see the same kind of numbers here, 2 hours, 14 minutes, same number of questions. That's actually a change with the digital version of the PSAT. So with the paper and pencil test, it was the shortest at 8-9, then it got a little longer for 10, and then longer for the actual SAT. All the digital tests are going to be the same length, 2 hours, 14 minutes, 98 questions. But as you move along the timeline, the tests will begin to become more similar to the actual SAT in terms of the questions and topics that you'll see on the test. The benefits of taking the PSAT are similar to the 8-9, and that you can learn more about yourself and your strengths. By taking this test, you also gain access to free personalized prep materials for the SAT from the College Board, who designs the SAT, as well as through Khan Academy. And you can begin to connect to scholarship opportunities for college. Now, it's important to note that the ACT offers a pre-ACT for 8th, 9th, and 10th grade as well. So some schools may give that test in place of the PSAT. Most schools, however, will give the PSAT NMSQT in the fall of your junior year. So NMSQT stands for the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. Now, this test is identical to the PSAT 10. You're probably wondering why would we take this again if we just took it in the spring of sophomore year? Why am I taking it again, 4 or 5 months later in the fall of my junior year? Well, you'll be taking the actual SAT or ACT later in this same school year. So it's good preparation, kind of get you back into that mindset. Also, this test, as you may have guessed from the name, is what is used to determine candidacy for the National Merit Scholarship, which is a U.S. nationwide academic scholarship competition. So this test is the first step to determining semifinalists who are then invited to apply for this prestigious scholarship. But National Merit isn't the only scholarship you can get connected to through this test. So when you take the PSAT NMSQT, be sure to check the box or click the box since it's going digital, enrolling you in the Student Search Service program. The College Board reports that this program helps match students to over $255 million in available scholarship money every year. And just like the PSAT 10, taking this test will earn you access to college and career planning resources and tools. Now, all of this builds up to the actual SAT or ACT that you will usually first take in the spring of your junior year. So what is the difference between the ACT and the SAT? Well, for right now, if you take this test this year, the tests are almost the same amount of time. So the paper and pencil SAT is 3 hours long and the ACT 2 hours and 55 minutes. The score ranges are very different. So 400 to 1600 for the SAT. ACT is going to have a score range of 1 to 36. The format of the tests are a little bit different as well, with differing numbers of questions and even the sections themselves. However, when the SAT moves entirely digital in the spring of 2024, the test will look very different. So you'll see it's going to be a lot shorter in both time and in number of questions than the ACT. And that's due to the adaptive nature of the test. And then the format will be the same as students got used to while taking all of those PSATs, all 4 to 5 PSATs beforehand. So you may be wondering, do I take the ACT or do I take the SAT? Well, the tests used to be pretty different. Changes to the SAT in 2016 made them more similar. However, when the ACT goes digital next year, it's going to make them a little bit different again. But let's go through the paper and pencil differences if you're taking the test this year. So the number of questions is going to be different. The ACT has a pretty significant amount more of questions. But remember that the tests are practically the same length of time. The ACT actually being 5 minutes shorter. So the ACT is shorter in time, but longer in number of questions. So this means that you actually have a little over a minute per question for the SAT, but under a minute per question for the ACT. So it's 1 minute and 10 seconds for the SAT versus 49 seconds per question for the ACT. But again, the SAT is going digital, so this is kind of a for now situation. When the SAT goes digital, it will become significantly shorter than the ACT. So 98 questions compared to the ACT's 215. Again, the adaptive nature of the digital SAT is what's allowing for the test to be significantly shorter, and it's actually going to give students even more time per question. Another key difference that we saw between the two tests is the math section. And this again is for our paper and pencil current version of the SAT. Currently on the SAT, you have two different math sections, one that you're allowed to use a calculator on and one that you're not. The ACT allows a calculator throughout the entire section. And the last major difference is the science reasoning section on the ACT. So the reading section of the SAT has 5 passages, but the ACT only has 4. And so that's kind of a big difference in that reading section. And then the ACT adds an additional section for science, which is actually less about science content and more to test reasoning skills. One other important thing that I want to note here with the difference between the math sections, that will again change when the SAT goes digital. All of the math questions on the digital SAT will allow for a calculator. So we're in a little bit of a kind of weird bridge period here where this is still accurate for the SAT versus the ACT, But when it comes time next spring for juniors to take the SAT, it will be done digitally and it will look a little bit different to what they may have been used to seeing prior. All right, so there's a lot of information, there's a lot of changes, they're different, they're the same, they're changing, what's going on, which one should I take? Well, the simplest answer is that most high schools will offer one of these tests, ACT or SAT, for free in the spring of your junior year. And often you'll be required to take it. So that's the easiest answer, take that one. You probably have to. But you may get your score back and not be 100% happy with it. You can take these tests as many times as you like, but you may have to pay. So the ACT costs $60 each time, and the SAT costs $55. Again, one is usually offered for free at most high schools, but fee waivers may also be available to you to take these on your own. So that might be something you may also want to ask your counselor about. And if you can, you could try taking both tests. So while the tests are currently very similar, again, some changes coming, some students find that they do much better on one test versus the other. This could also be true for you. So it could set you up better for college admissions and scholarships if you take both tests. You may also be thinking, but wait, I heard I don't even have to take these tests anymore, but now you're telling me that I should take both tests. Well, you may have heard about the test optional movement. So this is where a college does not require standardized test scores as part of the application process. The student gets to decide whether they want to send their test scores. Now, this is a movement that started gaining momentum prior to the pandemic, but was accelerated by it with more and more schools choosing to go test optional during COVID. Some of these schools will remain test optional going forward, but for some it was temporary and they will be going back to requiring test scores in the near future. Some schools, though, have chosen to go test blind, which means that not only do they not require test scores, but they won't even look at them if a student submits them. So whether or not you have to submit test scores, or if your chosen colleges will even look at your scores, really varies from institution to institution. So to be safe and keep your options open, it is recommended that you take at least one of the SAT or ACT tests. And again, most schools will require at least one, just so that you have that as an option, again, to keep all the doors open for you. Now, in addition, test scores are often required for merit-based scholarships or financial aid. For test optional schools, the general rule of thumb for deciding whether to submit is the middle 50. So college admissions offices will publish the data for their previously admitted class. So the average GPAs, the range of GPAs they accepted, and same with the test scores. So the middle 50 refers to the range of test scores between the 25th and 75th percentile. So 25th being this person scored higher than 25% of the people we admitted, and the 75th meaning the same. They scored higher than 75% of the people we had previously admitted. So if your test score is at the high end of this range, so close to that 75th percentile, or even above it, send your score. It will likely help you get admitted at a test optional school, or even earn you merit-based aid. So with all of these things that you have to do and think about, Tutor.com and the Princeton Review are here to help you set yourself up for success. Many schools and libraries actually partner with Tutor.com to offer academic tutoring 24/7. So we have tutors that are standing by ready to help you in any subject, or with study skills, or with your college admissions process. And on the other half of our company, you can also find all things test related with the Princeton Review, including free practice tests and test events, as well as test prep courses for AP tests, and the SAT or ACT. So talk to your counselor, your librarian, to see if any of these services or which of these services are offered at your school or library at no cost to you. And we hope that you keep coming back to see us throughout the rest of our College Readiness and Management series. Next up, next Tuesday, is Navigating the College Decision, where we'll be talking about how to decide whether to go to college and what type of college is best for you. And then later in the series, we'll discuss in detail the college admissions process, finances for college, and what life will be like during and after college. So with all of that said, I'm going to pass it back to Amy.
Awesome. That was such a good webinar. I actually learned quite a bit. Good job, you guys. So I would love to open it up for questions. If anybody has any, please put them in the question box. We'll try to get to them. We only have a couple minutes, but I've got a couple questions I can throw your way, girls. Someone asked, can I take a practice version of the digital SAT before it rolls out next spring?
Yes, I will take that one. So you can. So the best place to do this is to go to the College Board's website. And then they have a little tab at the top that says digital, and you can go down and you can find practice tests there. The one thing I will say is they're going to offer you first kind of a paper and pencil practice test, because that's currently the format of the SAT. But the digital SAT has already rolled out internationally. So if you tell the College Board website that you're planning to take the test outside of the US, they'll give you the digital practice.
Ooh, a little trick.
Yep.
That's great. Great tip. Okay, so we have one other question, which is, what do college admissions offices look for when it comes to extracurriculars?
Yeah, I can take that one.
Great.
I think you could argue that more important than what extracurriculars you're involved in is kind of what they say about you. Many admissions officers are often looking for like a theme or a pattern in your application. So, for example, does your experience show that you're musically inclined? Has your focus been on athletics? Does it demonstrate your passion for the environment, et cetera, et cetera? So a variety of experience can be good, but colleges like to see students who are specialized in a particular area. And as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to extracurriculars, it's a matter of quality rather than quantity. So you want to use your extracurricular experience to showcase your passion and your commitment towards an organization, rather than just adding another bullet to the list.
Good point. Great. Well, that was awesome. That answered all the questions we have. So thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate all that information. Like I said, I learned a lot. And thanks everybody for joining us, and have a good rest of your Tuesday.